Ever notice how like one color in a movie can just make you feel something? It's like without a single word being spoken.
Yeah, yeah.
Today, we're going to dive deep into that, the language of color in film.
I love this.
Not just like how it looks, but what it means.
Right.
So we've got some excerpts from this film studies text, and it really gets into like the nitty-gritty of the symbolism of colors. Red, blue, yellow, green.
Okay.
We're also going to use the Wizard of Oz, kind of like our own little case study.
Oh, fun.
See it all in action.
Love it. I'm excited.
So yeah, get ready because we're about to uncover all these subtle ways that filmmakers use color to like tell stories and to mess with our emotions.
And it's more than you think, probably. Like, you might be surprised to learn how much thought actually goes into something that I think we all kind of take for granted.
Yeah, for sure. We don't think about it a lot of the time.
No, it's just there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's unpack this rainbow, starting with, I think, the most attention-grabbing color of them all, right?
Okay.
Red.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, it's not an accident that we use it for stop signs, right?
Exactly. And our film studies text actually points that out.
Mm-hmm.
It says that the wavelength of red literally makes it pop
Oh, wow.
more than other colors. Like it's
Oh.
scientifically engineered to grab your attention.
Yeah. Wow. So it's like, how does that then translate to the big screen, you know?
It means that red carries a weight of meaning that other colors just don't.
Okay.
You know, it's the color of extremes.
All right.
Think about it. Love, danger, power. You see red, you pay attention. Yeah, you pay attention. Like, it's almost like the director saying, hey, look at this. This is important.
Totally.
And they can use it in such powerful ways. I'm thinking of, like, Schindler's List.
Oh, yeah. Good one.
The whole film is in black and white, except for one thing, that little girl's red coat.
Yes.
Haunting, heartbreaking, and you never forget it.
It's true. And tragically, it makes her a target,
Oh, yeah.
you know? Which kind of highlights that duality of red. The text also talks about that, how it can be both alluring and unsettling.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And another good example, the red dress in Jezebel,
Oh, yeah.
a symbol of rebellion and passion, but also foreshadows the character's downfall, almost like a warning.
Interesting. So it makes you wonder if filmmakers are like deliberately playing with us, toying with our emotions, you know, with
Yeah.
this duality.
Absolutely, they're masters of manipulation,
Right.
right? And color is one of their most powerful tools.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's shift gears from the fiery passion of red to something a little cooler.
Okay, right.
Blue.
Okay.
Blue, for me, it's totally different. There's this calmness,
Yeah.
melancholy, maybe even a hint of the supernatural, like that vast blue sky.
Right.
You know, those Terrence Malick films.
It's interesting you mention that because the text actually links blue to those boundless spaces.
Right,
The sky, the sea.
right,
It connects it to this sense of vastness and the unknown, right?
right.
And it's interesting how blue can be both calming and eerie,
Yeah, that's true.
you know?
Totally.
Think about Don't Look Now.
Oh, yeah.
That terrifying shift from a child's red coat to like a menacing, almost supernatural blue, it's about as jarring as it gets.
Talk about a mood swing.
Right.
But it's so effective, you know?
Yeah.
It really gets under your skin in a way that I think other colors can't.
Totally.
It's true. There's a depth to it, I think.
Yeah.
That's hard to kind of shake.
Totally.
And speaking of depth, it makes me think of how blue is often used in film noir, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Those shadowy alleys and rain-slicked streets, they wouldn't feel nearly as, I don't know, atmospheric without that, like, blue glow. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it plays into that sense of mystery, unease that blue can give you. But what's so interesting is how blue can also be used to, like, lull us into a false sense of security at times.
What do you mean?
Like in Trainspotting, for example. That blue that represents both serenity and then, like, the depths of despair. It's almost a contradiction.
Right. Okay, so it's like the calm before the storm.
Totally.
Speaking of deceptive colors,
Right.
that's a perfect segue to our next color, which is yellow.
Okay.
You wouldn't think a color that's so bright and cheerful could be associated with anything like negative.
Right.
But like in the world of film, yellow can be like surprisingly sinister.
Yes.
What's the deal with that?
It's so interesting how our perception of a color can like shift so dramatically, just depending on the context.
Totally.
The text talks about how yellow, despite that sunny disposition, often signals that something isn't quite right.
Yeah.
It's almost like a visual warning sign.
I see that, like even in nature sometimes, right? Like the brightest, most vibrant colors
Mm-hmm.
are often a warning to predators.
Totally.
You know,
Yeah.
could that be playing a role here, do you think?
It's certainly possible. Our film studies text even points out how, like, yellow decays, think tarnished gold, a sickly pallor,
Right,
and
yeah.
connects that to a sense of things not being what they seem.
So are filmmakers like tapping into some kind of primal instinct we have to be wary of yellow? Is that what's happening?
It's fascinating to consider, and there's so many compelling examples of this in film. Take Lolita, for instance.
Okay.
That, like, sunshiny yellow that kind of permeates the whole film becomes almost sickly.
Right.
Reflecting Humbert's, twisted desires and the ultimate, like, tragic nature of the whole story.
Right. In Gattaca. That, like, washed out, almost anemic yellow.
Yes.
It hints at, like, this sterile dystopian future where everything feels, like, artificial and controlled, like the life has been sucked out of it.
Precisely. And it makes you think twice about the yellow brick road in The
Wow.
Wizard of Oz, right?
Oh, interesting.
Is that hopeful yellow?
Yeah.
Or is there that touch of that sinister, deceptive side lurking beneath the surface?
That's a great question because, like, we've been conditioned to think of the yellow brick road as, like, hope and adventure.
Right.
But, what if it's leading Dorothy towards something far more complex than she realizes?
Right.
It makes you wonder, if the filmmakers are, again, playing with us.
Totally.
Our expectations, using our cultural associations with the colors to then, like, subvert our expectations.
Exactly. And it just highlights how multi-layered this whole language of color can be.
Right. Okay. Well, after all that yellow-induced suspicion,
Right.
let's cleanse our palates with a breath of fresh air.
Okay.
Green.
Okay.
The color of nature, growth, harmony, kind of a visual sigh of relief after those last two, wouldn't you say?
Green definitely has a calming effect, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
Our film studies text actually mentions that the human eye is particularly sensitive to green
Oh, well.
because of how prevalent it is in nature. It's just something that we're, like, biologically programmed to respond to as appealing.
That makes total sense. But even green has a duality to it, right?
Oh,
But
absolutely.
when you think about, like, those lush green forests in fairy tales,
Oh, right.
they're beautiful, but they could also be full of, like, hidden dangers.
Right.
Like, nature can be both nurturing and really unforgiving.
Precisely. And that brings us back to The Wizard of Oz and the Emerald City.
Okay.
Despite its vibrant green,
Yeah.
it's not exactly a paradise, is it? There's an artificiality to it, a sense of something manufactured rather than organic.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, too much of a good thing. Like, can you have too much green?
Right.
Maybe the Emerald City is kind of a cautionary tale about the dangers of seeking, like, perfection,
Right.
of trying to control nature instead of, like, living in harmony with it.
It's a very interesting interpretation, and it speaks to the complexity of green. It's not just about growth and harmony.
Yeah.
It's also about those untamed, unpredictable aspects of nature as well.
And when you think about it like that,
Uh-huh.
that makes the choice of green for the Emerald City even more, like, intriguing.
Right.
It's like the filmmakers are hinting at the fact that things are not always what they seem,
Right.
even in a place that's supposed to be a paradise.
Exactly.
So, wow, we've uncovered, like, a whole bunch of stuff about red, blue, yellow, green.
Right.
But like you've been saying, it's not just about the individual colors, right?
Totally.
It's how it all works together.
Think of it like a painter's palette.
Yeah.
You can create, like, an infinite number of moods and effects just by, like, mixing and combining those colors in different ways.
Right. And our film studies text really gets into that, like how those combinations and contrasts, they can, like, heighten a film's emotional impact. Do you have any, like, favorite examples, films that use this really effectively?
Oh, so many come to mind, but, like, Les Amants du Pont Neuf.
Okay.
It's like a masterpiece of color. Like, the way Carax uses color, particularly yellow, to illustrate both, like, the beauty and the pain
Right.
of these characters' lives, it's breathtaking.
Yeah. What about Apocalypse Now?
Yes.
The way Coppola uses those, like, really intense reds and yellows against, like, that backdrop of the jungle, that green.
The green, yes.
It creates this, like, oppressive, almost like hallucinatory atmosphere.
Totally. And it's a perfect example of how color can really evoke a sense of place and mood.
Yes.
You can practically feel the heat and the humidity of the
Right.
jungle, like, closing in on you, thanks in part to that color palette.
It's like the filmmakers are, like, painting with light and color.
Yes.
Creating these moods, directing our emotions without us even, like, realizing it.
Totally.
And to think, like, we watch all these films and we don't even, like, we don't give it a second thought.
It's really a testament to, like, the power of the subconscious, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, we may not be consciously aware of it, but those color cues are, like, working their magic on us nonetheless.
So what can we do to, like, be more aware? Do we need to, like, analyze every frame like we're, like, deciphering ancient hieroglyphics or something?
You don't need a degree in film studies to, like, appreciate the art of color.
Okay, good.
Just being aware of it, like, that alone can deepen your understanding,
Yeah.
make you, like, a more active and engaged viewer.
So the next time, like, you're watching a film and you see, you know, a character in a red dress or like a room that's bathed in this, like, unsettling yellow light,
Right?
don't just let it, like, wash over you. Take a moment. Think about it.
Think about it. Ask yourself, what does this color convey to me?
Yeah.
How does this make me feel?
Oh, my God.
And how does it connect to, you know, the story, the characters, the themes of the film?
This has been so eye-opening, really. This whole deep dive.
It's amazing, right?
It's amazing how something that seems so simple, like color,
Right.
can, like, add so much
Totally.
to a film.
It's all about, like, learning to see the world around us with, like, fresh eyes, don't you think?
Yeah,
And what better way to do that than through the lens of cinema?
totally.
Yeah.
So all you deep divers out there, I guess this is your challenge now. Next film you watch, pay attention to those colors. And don't just see them, but, like, read them.
Yes.
What are they telling you? And what might they even reveal about yourself?
Ooh.
Until next time, keep diving deep.